7591. Representative Kazarian.
All right, thank you, committee members. Thank you, Chairwoman. I know the hard work that this committee does, so I very much appreciate you guys hearing my bill today. My bill is 7591, the Safe Schools Act. More simple terms, it would limit concealed to carry permit gun owners from bringing their guns into our schools. Right now in Rhode Island, anyone with a concealed carry permit can bring his or her firearm into Rhode Island schools, K through 12, without the knowledge of police or school officials. 46 states generally prohibit carrying concealed handguns in K through 12 schools, even by concealed carry permit holders. So I do want to stress that point, that right now in Rhode Island, concealed carry permit holders can bring their guns into our schools without the knowledge of police officers or any officials within the schools. A 2016 poll showed that 82% of registered Rhode Island voters supported restricted concealed carry permits in elementary schools. 24 school committees and 10 municipal councils have passed resolutions in support of this legislation. Rhode Island education leadership supports this bill. And that includes, by the way, the Rhode Island Association of School Principals, the Rhode Island Association of School Committees, the Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals. This bill exempts Rhode Island peace officers, which is a very broad definition, but that includes police officers and resource officers in that definition. It exempts them from this bill. Again, they are the only trained peace officers that should be armed in schools because unlike CCP holders, all police officers are retested annually to confirm their proficiency. As CCP holders, by contrast, are not trained to handle high-stress shoot or don't shoot situations. I'm sure there's some that are, but it's not something that all of them are be able to do. And they're not subject to yearly testing every year. While many of these concealed carry permit holders may be excellent marksmen in controlled and low-stress situations, a high-stress situation is a whole different ballgame. I've spoken to a lot of students and teachers and parents throughout Rhode Island to get their take on this bill. A lot of students have told me they're very scared about the idea of having a gun in the classroom. They feel like it would be a big distraction for them in their learning process. A lot of teachers have talked to me and told me that the idea of them being in charge of a gun is just something that would make them leave the teaching profession, which is something we definitely don't want to see happen. Teachers have also expressed to me that they are they wear a lot of different hats in the classroom. Not only are they teachers, they are also therapists. They also are, I've had a teacher tell me I'm like a bank to my students. I keep track of their cell phones and help them with their lunch money. They have a lot of responsibility, and I think adding a gun to the list of things that they need to be responsible for is another tough situation. I've had parents come up to me and talk to me about this bill as well. The idea of any teacher having a gun or any other parent being able to come in their school with a gun really frightens them as well, and they support this legislation. To summarize my argument, I know that everybody here cares about the safety of our students, and I think that is the most important thing. We all want to acknowledge that. And we need to also acknowledge that our schools are not movie sets. They're playgrounds, they're classrooms, they're libraries, they're sports fields, they're lunchrooms. Adding guns into these places that are places that are meant for learning, for growing, for playing, adds a greater potential for dangerous, possibly even deadly situations to occur. So that's my testimony today. I'm happy to take any questions.
Representative Canario, a question?
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Welcome, Rep.
Thanks.
Rep, I have concern with the language in this bill in terms of and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said that the intent was to have police officers, whether they're on duty or off duty, be able to carry, but the wording of the bill does not say that. So I think the problem here is the language is ambiguous because it refers to 3 different statutes, this bill. And in your remark in putting the bill forth, I think I'm correct when I say that you wanted police and off-duty police and so forth to be able to carry guns. If you look at the if you look at 12-7-21, and also refers to 11-47-9, it refers to police officers, peace officers, while in the performance of their duties only. So if a police officer is off duty, or a retired police officer is off duty, your bill wouldn't allow them to carry on school property either.
So this is a great point. This is a great question to bring up. I do want to say that if you look at lines 18, and then I think it goes straight to the end of the bill on the second page to line 8.
Yeah.
It does exempt anyone that's defined as a peace officer from this legislation. You have brought up a point about active police officers or active officers of the peace being the only ones that are exempt. This is something that we have actually been discussing with the Rhode Island Chief Police Association about possibly talking about or being open to talks about also police officers off duty, things of that nature. So you're bringing up a point that has been discussed, and we're open to conversations
Look,
about
I
it.
just wanted to bring that to your attention because
No,
I
that's
had
important.
concerns about, I always have concerns about not having anyone be able to carry guns to protect our kids in school. I think my personal opinion is that we should have people in the schools.
We have a
such as
differing opinion on that, but it's okay.
police officers. I mean, I've been very open about that, and when I see language like this in a bill that prevents anyone at all from carrying a gun, even police officers themselves,
Well, not anybody at all. Active police officers are exempt from
that's
this.
not what this bill says.
I'm
The
beg to
bill
differ on
refers,
that
if
one.
you look at the language, it says, while in, peace officers, police officers, while in the performance of their duty. If they're off duty, it's not while they're in the performance of their duty.
So I hear what you're saying. I think it's like a technicality here, but
Okay.
if you're a police officer on active duty, you are exempt from this bill, and that is what it says. So it's not everybody. I don't want to have to muddle the conversation.
Well,
So
it is,
I hear
because when you leave, when you're off duty, you're no longer allowed to carry on school property, according
but
to your
that's
bill.
only if you're off duty. So if you're on duty, you are.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it to you.
No, that's fair. That's a very fair question. No problem. Any other questions?
Representative Corvese, and then Representative Vella-Wilkinson.
I don't have a question for you, Representative Kazarian. I was just curious, will there be any other individuals you know of who'll be testifying for this bill for 7591?
Yes, there are. I know of several just constituents and people that have come to talk on it.
Okay, I was wondering
We
if
also
there was
have the presidents of the Police Chiefs Association,
Okay.
and a few others.
Thank
So
you.
we do, yes.
Representative Vella-Wilkinson.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Representative, welcome to Judiciary. Thank you for your testimony tonight. I'm not exactly sure what the depth of this is in terms of posing a problem within the state of Rhode Island. Can you quantify for me, to the best of your ability, how many people are going into our schools carrying concealed right now?
That's a great question, and I actually can't give you that number. And part of the reason I can't is because right now they're not required to tell police officers or any school officials that they have their concealed carry permit, they have a gun on premise at school. So we actually can't give you that number right now because of the way that the law is today.
I would actually offer an alternative explanation, and that would be that you can't tell because when an individual has gone through the paperwork, the interviews, the letters of recommendation, the training, and so forth, to carry concealed, that part of that is training that indicates that they're not allowed to brandish the weapon. So I don't know that it's because the local police don't know that someone is carrying concealed so much as the law-abiding gun owners know that they're not allowed to brandish the gun. And so my concern with this is if you have someone who has a permit to carry concealed and they're going to a sporting event or they're going to pick up a sick child, where would you propose that they put the gun? Would you want it left in the vehicle? And would that, in your mind, be safer than someone who's trained to carry concealed, keeping it on his or her person?
So I don't own a gun, but I do know that people that do own guns, when they have to go to
hold on.
other areas in Rhode Island that CCP owners are not allowed to bring guns, say the convention center, our post offices, even here, even in the State House, they've left it in a lockbox in their car, and that has been the protocol that law-abiding gun owners follow by. So I would just ask that they follow those same procedures when going into our schools, where our children are supposed to be focused on learning and focused on feeling safe. So,
May I continue, Madam Chair?
Yes?
Thank you. So within your testimony, you indicated that you had never shot a weapon, a handgun or a long gun, is that correct?
no, I have not. And I will say, one of the great things about our country is it's a free country, and if you don't feel comfortable doing something or owning something, you don't have to.
Right.
So I am not comfortable holding or shooting a gun. I think it's probably in everybody's best interest that I don't. So that's why I haven't. And I have my right to not have to own a gun, shoot a gun, or any of that. And I also have my right to work on this legislation and to work with the parents, the teachers, the students that have come to me and expressed concerns over it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would never challenge you on
No, I never
that
would.
issue, of course not. But I think that it's also fair to say that if you've never handled a weapon, you've never shot a gun,
Excuse me, Representative Wilkinson, I think you're getting a little out of line now.
Oh, I was going to ask a question.
Okay,
I'm just
get to the
prefacing the
question.
question. Okay. Would it be fair to say that you would not be comfortable, that you're typically not comfortable around guns, no matter where the location is?
I wouldn't say that I'm completely uncomfortable around guns. We live in America. I've obviously been around guns before. I don't really know how to answer
Representative
That's an answer.
Kazarian, I don't think you have to answer that question. It's not relevant to the
Okay,
legislation.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Representative.
Representative Knight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to revisit Rep. Canario's concerns about 1147-9, and unfortunately left the room. I'm reading the statute now, and for the benefit of the committee, this is a horribly drafted statute about what is a peace officer and what is it. But the way I read it is that the on-duty provisions apply to members of the military, but if you're a Rhode Island state law enforcement official, and there's about 25 different kinds listed in here, it appears to me that if you're duly authorized and sworn as one of those people, then this provision applies 24/7, for the record.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Knight. Other questions from the committee?